Hey everyone, Ben here, back in iRacing for an absolutely cracking pair of touring car races with the awesome Red Ken Racing community. Now if you don't know Jamie Kennedy at Red Ken Racing, he's a super creator majoring these days on iRacing streams, and you should definitely go and check him out. For now though, we've qualified P5 of 20 cars taken to the grid for this 30-minute race at Brands Hatch. And we're already on the grid then, waiting for the 5 red lights. This is going to be super intense through these opening sections of the race. Touring car racing always is. It's lights out, away we go. And look at that, a couple of very poor starts up ahead as it looks like Trevor Bonesteel and Davey Smith bogged down there. We're up into P3. Smith trying to have it go back down my inside through the opening corner. He's not able to make it stick. There was a tiny bit of contact. We were a bit lucky there not to get pitched into a spin, but thankfully both myself and Smith survived the contact as we come through the hairpin for the first time. Pereira streaking clear in P1, and then we got Joe Ray just up ahead of us in P2. I'm in P3. What a fantastic getaway from the line. It seems like there was a big incident behind me there on track. We'll take a look back at that on replay in a moment, but for now I'm just concentrated on trying to get into a rhythm in this race. Very, very difficult in these touring cars, front wheel drive with cold tyres. It's very, very difficult to get the car hooked up in these opening couple of laps before it gets up to temperature. Everything feels a little bit clumsy, a little bit lazy, as you can see. Ray up ahead struggling with exactly that. You just don't have the grip in these tyres, so getting the cars rotated, getting on gas early, very, very difficult. You've got to be patient, otherwise there's a very big chance you'll understeer wide and off into the grass, and that's exactly what is going to happen to Joe Ray there. He's off to the left-hand side. Difficult high-speed corner that at the best of times, but Joe Ray just took too much speed into that. That's allowed me up into P2. But for now, let's take a look back at the race start. You can see Smith in particular getting a very poor getaway there from the start, and that's going to allow me around his outside. He tries to hold the position, but he can't do it. Got more momentum, but there was a big shunt behind me. Now we're going to be focusing on the Haas liveried car of Bonesteel here. Trevor Bonesteel is going to get tagged by Jack Spickett there, coming across the track. That could have been a much bigger shunt than it was. We're on board with Maurits van Koeverden, and you can see how lucky the following drivers get there as the cars spear off to the side of the track. Very, very fortunate not to get collected, but we're back in the cockpit with the live action on lap 3, and I'm falling behind Pereira up ahead, but I am building a bit of a gap to Joe Ray behind, and that gap is going to get bigger. If you look in the rear view mirror, Ray's gone in too hot again to one of these high speed right-handers. He's off into the gravel this time. That'll put him behind Davey Smith in the battle for P3. So there's Smith taking the position. Ray is able to rejoin just ahead of that gaggle of cars behind him, and will resume fighting. And speaking of fighting, a fierce battle breaking out here between Ilpo Ruotsalainen, Maurits van Koeverden and Jamie Kennedy of Red Ken Racing. That's who we're following here in the psychedelic livery. You can see he's caught between the other two drivers here as they're barreling down the straight and into the high-speed middle section. And unfortunately for Jamie, he's going to come off the worst here as Maurits has to avoid Ilpo coming across the track. Kennedy ends up getting tagged, and he's slid off into the barrier. A heavy hit, and that would essentially be Jamie's race over. We rejoin the live action on lap 12, and I've had a relatively quiet run here. I'm not quick enough to keep pace with Pereira up ahead, but I have built a gap to the cars behind, and I'm going to take my mandatory pit stop now. Now it should just be a splash and dash. We're running the fixed setup, so we had to top up the fuel through this race if we were going to make it to the end. That's going to apply to everybody in this race, but unfortunately for me, I thought I'd checked no change to my tyres. It turns out I didn't, so I am stuck in the pit lane for an extra 30 to 40 seconds, and that has absolutely destroyed my chances of getting on the podium in this feature race. I'm going to come out of the pits right the way down in the mid-pack, and looking to salvage something from this race in the remaining laps. So we flash forward to lap 17. You can see then that we're closing in on Carl Fleet up ahead, and that's before he makes a big mistake through that left-hander. That's going to hand me a huge speed advantage down this back straight, but can I capitalise on it? Am I going to be close enough to stick one down the inside through the middle section of this lap? Well, the gap is down to 0.2 seconds as we come through the first high-speed right-hander, just not close enough to try and press home a move, and I'm going to have to be in single file through this next section of track. It's just too difficult to lunge down the inside and hold the car. So here we go, we're coming up the hill, and oh, Fleet on the brakes slightly earlier than I was expecting. That slows me down through the corner, and Maurits van Keverden is behind as well now, closing in. Now Maurits is a long-time supporter of Le Broca sim racing. He's been watching my videos since the very beginning virtually. He's rocking the Le Broca livery today as well. So we're essentially teammates in this race. Maurits has also got some fantastic speed. Unfortunately, he got a pit stop penalty, which meant he had to come in and serve that, which has dropped him all the way down the order here. So Maurits, of the three of us, is probably the quickest driver, which makes it very important that I'm able to clear Carl Fleet as soon as I can, because I'm going to be coming under pressure. Fleet has made a mistake into the hairpin. We're going to be exiting side by side. There's a small bit of contact, but I'm not close enough alongside to be able to hold that through the next left-hander. All the while Maurits is closing in behind, and this is going to be really challenging here as we get past the back marker there. Thankfully, he got nice and cleanly out of the way. We're through the left-hander once again, and I'm going to be under big pressure here. If I can't pass Carl rapidly, there's only a lap and a half left in this race. Yes, we're fighting outside of the top 10, but this is phenomenal fun. It's what community racing is all about here, as we're into that fast middle section once more, and it's going to take a brave driver to execute a move through this part of the track. I'm going to try and take a later apex, get on the gas earlier than Carl here, and it looks as if I've been able to. I'm carrying more speed up the hill here. I'm going to shape to the inside, not really trying a pass here, but trying to put Carl off. Unfortunately, it didn't work. It's going to put me at a bit of a disadvantage coming into the left-hander here, but Maurits not close enough either. So the battle is heating up here. Nobody's yet able to execute a proper overtaking manoeuvre, but we're just each trying to psych each other out as we're coming down the start finish straight for one final time before the checkered flag. One more racing lap left. Is anybody going to be able to break this deadlock here? Can I squeeze myself up into 12th place, try and redeem something from this disappointing race, having previously been up in a comfortable P2? Well, let's find out as we come down the hill into the hairpin once again. I'm going to come to the inside, way too far back to make a move, but again, just trying to fill Carl's mirrors with the Le Broca Honda to see if he will make a mistake. It's probably going to come down to somebody making a mistake here as to whether one of us is going to get past. Look in the rear view mirror, Maurits fancying a move again. He's got a little bit of an overlap into this left-hander. We're going to go side by side, so I'm not attacking anymore. I'm defending here, and I'm just able to hold the momentum around the outside of the corner. But look at the gap that I've dropped back from Fleet up ahead. That's really disappointing. Am I going to get another chance to squeeze past? Well, let's find out as we get into the middle section here, trying to carry as much speed as I can, having to adjust the wheel there mid-corner as I could just feel the rear beginning to get a little bit loose and step out through the next right-hander here, carrying way more pace than Carl through those corners. Maybe, just maybe, I will get a final chance here to get alongside and past up the hill, dab the brakes, and look at Maurits behind. He's closing in now. I'm going to try and cover off to the inside, but Maurits is going to squeeze his nose down. There's contact, but we're just able to hold the car very nearly. Le Broca cars coming together and taking each other out of the race. As it stands, it looks as if I'm going to have to settle for P13 as we come through the final corner. We are closing in on Carl Fleet up ahead. It's not going to be enough to get him before the start-finish line. And despite that being a disappointing conclusion to the race in terms of positions, wow, what an enjoyable battle that was. And as I say, that's really what community racing is all about. And I've learned a valuable lesson when it comes to pit stops in iRacing. But as you can see the action playing out on screen, there was a reasonably chunky bit of contact here into the corner. It could easily have unsettled both cars, but Maurits and I both lived to tell the tale. We weren't the only big battle going on track though. Through the latter stages of that race, Jim Carpenter was duking it out with Trevor Bonesteel here, and you can see the two of them fighting down the main straight. Carpenter defending at this point and holding on to the position. Unfortunately for Jim, he wasn't able to hold off Bonesteel, and eventually he would squeeze past. You can see him trying around the outside here. Remember, Trevor was involved in that accident on lap 1, so he's recovering through the field here. He's able to maintain the overlap on the exit of the hairpin and then squeeze down the inside of the left-hander. Carpenter coming under pressure from Baruch Bergman, but was able to hold him off before the checkered flag. And now we join the battle on the very last corner of the last lap between Smith and Clark for the final podium position. And look at that, Davy Smith runs out of fuel with just yards left to go in the race, and Clark takes P3 in the session. Really high drama there right to the end of the race, and here's the full classified results. Well done to Keith Pereira for a comfortable win in this one. Drama all the way through the field. Commiserations to Jamie, of course, who was taken out early on, but he had a chance of redemption, as we all did, as I did, having messed up my pit stop in the previous race. We're now into a 15-minute sprint race of the Indy layout, and the lights are already green, and we are underway. And again, we've got a fantastic start off the line, and we're going to launch ourselves straight up into P2. We came together there with Jim Carpenter as we both tried to get our cars into the gap that opened up in the middle of the track, trying to avoid drivers who started slowly. But now we've got a great chance, if we can see through the rest of this race, of redeeming myself in order to get back up onto that podium, maybe even challenge for the win as we come through the left-hander here for the first time. Now, of course, at the end of this section of track, we're not going to be taking the left-hander. We're going to be straight into the final corner of the lap. Cold tyres once again, though, so difficult to just coax the car through this section of track. And as we come through the right-hander, bang! We get a big hit from Jim Carpenter behind. It looks as if he's come out the worse for it, though. Let's take a look at it on replay. First, here's the race start. The first contact with Carpenter there, as we were both avoiding slow starting vehicles up ahead. I came out on top of that one, managed to be up into P2, but it wasn't the last of the start line drama. We're focusing on the orange car of Joe Ray, who's just going to squeeze Ilpo into the wall. Clearly didn't see him there on the right hand side, but that would have a huge ripple effect. We're now following the red and white car of Levesque. He's going to get tagged by Ilpo recovering onto the track. He's up onto the grass, out of control of that car, and he tags Jamie Kennedy again for the second race in a row. Red Ken is out before even completing a lap this time. Here it is from his on board. This is unbelievably unlucky for Jamie. It just goes to show sometimes it's not your night. He was out of both races without even completing 2 racing laps. We got more lucky here as Carpenter slammed into my rear wing. Thankfully, we didn't get significant damage there. Unfortunately for Jim, he was pitched into a spin. He manages to rejoin, very nearly making more contact there, but he slots in behind that gaggle of cars. Here is the avoiding action taken by Bonesteel just behind him there. He manages to get around, and great reflexes to avoid a bigger accident. We rejoin the live action then on lap 2, and we're chasing the leader, Jamie Tewksbury, here to try and squeeze myself up into P1. Now, any followers of the channel will know I haven't won a race in any form online since 2021, but as Tewksbury runs wide there out of the corner, I am sensing an opportunity to get up into P1 right now. We're quicker on the corner exit there, we're side by side, and I'm going to hold to the inside line. Tewksbury can't fight it around the outside, and unbelievably we are up into P1 of this race. Let's see that move again on replay, and it's going to be a question now of whether I can scamper off into the distance while other drivers behind fight amongst themselves. Here we go down the inside, we hold the car nicely, and we're able to keep it under control through the next part of the circuit. Now, as I was trying to scamper off up ahead, unfortunately behind me, Jim Carpenter would have another big incident coming through the first corner. He gets out onto the gravel, slides across the track. This race just going from bad to worse for him. We're now on board with Maurits attacking Davy Smith here up ahead. Can he squeeze down the inside of the hairpin? He's carrying way more speed into the corner, later on the brakes, and he's able to hold the move down the inside. This would be one of a number of passes Maurits would make as he comes through the field. He would continue the battle here down the inside of Bergman. He's able to make that pass as well. but really there was just action all the way through this field, and it was very clean racing as well. You expect a bit of door banging in the touring cars. You can see Bergman here trying to get back alongside Maurits, but he wasn't able to do it. Maurits holds the move around the outside of T1, but this was non-stop for the entire race distance, and that really did help me out as I was leading this race. I had a clear track. I was able to gun it and just set some pretty competitive lap times. Jack Spickett was challenging Carl Fleet, our friend from race 1, for the number 2 spot. Eventually Spickett would dive down the inside of T1, get past him, but by this point of the race I was 6 seconds clear up the road. So by the time eventually Spickett consolidates that move into the hairpin, I've got a very big gap to P2, and as we get onto the final lap you'll see Jack was not able to reel me in, and I was able to hold on to the lead essentially to run this race from lap 2 all the way to the end and take the checkered flag for what is a very, very, very rare win. I know it's not on an open online lobby, but I was pretty pleased with this. I've got to say, there were some competitive drivers in this field, some fantastic racing throughout. Again, look at this, just like from race 1, we've got Clark challenging Davy Smith for a position at the end of the race, and he was just able to take it by a nose. Smith didn't underfuel the car this time, but he was still pipped at the post by Clark. Just another example of fantastic drama running through the race. Here's the full classified results. There's confirmation that we've won a race, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how really to react to that other than to say it was a huge amount of fun. And to say a big thank you to Jamie Kennedy. He didn't have the best of nights Red Ken Racing, really unlucky in those incidents, but he's the man who brought this race together. He runs a fantastic community. I really recommend you go check out his channel, check out his live streams, check out his Discord. I've linked to all of them in the description, and I will see you on the next one.